Have you spoken to the media about this case?
Can I object? Relevance?
What's the relevance?
What is the relevance, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Just to know how many times he's given testimony?
Your Honor, I'm
Right.
going to, maybe we can
Hold on.
sidebar.
Yeah, I don't want to. All right, let's go on a sidebar.
So do you think that your CPR class would be fairly successful if you had no visuals?
Objection, relevance, speculation.
Next question.
I got it, Your Honor.
Make no mistake, what we are seeing here is one of the most ridiculous defendants in recent times, convicted of ridiculous crimes for ridiculous reasons. Just think about it, zombies. Shocking crimes, yes, and terrible crimes, yes, but also terribly silly crimes, now standing up in court and acting as her own attorney. What could go wrong?
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. I think the value in seeing this, which doesn't happen very often, a defendant representing themselves, is less in seeing it as circus entertainment and more in appreciating just how hard it is to be an effective lawyer. Not just anyone can stand up in court and provide a case, whether it's a defense or a prosecution, effectively. And then not only that, what are the protocols? Now, I studied law. I've spent quite a lot of time in courtrooms. I've also been in court when Laurie was on trial, and you have to be on your toes, especially in court, mentally crossing T's and dotting I's. For example, one thing you can't do is make comments while examining a witness.
In fact, the judge told her, you have to stop testifying. You're making comments after people give their testimony, and you can't do that.
One way the jury may turn against Laurie is just by lieu of the fact of her being irritating, by sort of just breaking this whole process down and making it into a frustratingly longer thing, that ordeal that they've got to go through. Now, you may remember in the live stream dealing with the opening statements, I actually gave Laurie props for a not terrible opening statement. I think I gave her about 6 out of 10, albeit a statement that included 68 references to the evidence shows. But I also noted it's only going to be a matter of time before the real Laurie shines through. The brittle, fickle, snappy, shoot-from-the-hip doomsday mom. And as we can already see, that hasn't taken a long time to happen. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're interested in getting recaps on this case, let me know in the comments. If you're finding this analysis worthwhile, please hit the thanks button and let's get started. Now, I think it is a bit of an exaggeration to say that Laurie snapped at the judge when she said, "I got it." I mean, compared to what she's done, that was really minor. But I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Laurie is snippy and at times snappy. Let's look at another example of Laurie getting snippy. This is from the pre-trial phase.
I feel like the state is trying to say, okay, if you want your speedy trial, guess what? We're not going to let you defend yourself. Guess what? You can't have any experts. And guess what else? You can't have any witnesses. You can't have anybody speak in your behalf. So good luck. Have a nice day.
Now, that is bad enough. Just seeing the back of her head shaking like that, one can only imagine what the expression is on Laurie's face, taking on the judge, not sparing, not taking any prisoners in terms of what she's saying. I do think Laurie's most foundational education has been in terms of her marriages. Marrying 5 husbands has taught her that she can get who she wants and get away with what she wants when she wants. But I think she's learning the hard way. She can't get away with murder. And if I can make a prediction, and this isn't rocket science by any means, she isn't going to get away with murder here either. Although I'm not as thrilled to see Laurie fail in the setting as Ashley Banfield seems to be. I mean, enjoying this as a sort of a spectacle, enjoying this at her expense. that makes us no better than Laurie herself. And this attitude reminds me of the mob in the Colosseum. And I do think we need to be better than that. I do think the thing we need to be paying attention to is the jury are watching, and they are getting probably a better sense of Laurie than even from her testifying on the stand. So in a sense, Laurie is getting her own medicine. It's also such a cliche. One can imagine Laurie thinking along the lines of, if you believe you can do it, you can. And, that's the sort of starry-eyed thing a beauty queen might say. Except the reality here is, if you believe you can pretend to be a lawyer defending yourself while you're on trial for another murder, you can. Can you? Only a delusional or very manipulative person thinks like this.
It's a little awkward, especially when she sort of switches to that flirtatious mindset with these witnesses, the little giggles, using the little girl voice.
And that's commentary from the Pretty Lies and Alibis podcast host, Gigi. And I think she says also that this kind of behavior was actually, she could tell, just making the jurors uncomfortable. It would certainly make me uncomfortable in that setting. Wouldn't it make you uncomfortable? For me, it is interesting how the women watching are able to so quickly identify how Laurie is attempting to manipulate the court, especially the witnesses. And bear in mind, there's a male judge, and the witnesses so far have been males as well.
Laurie has always been described as manipulative, Gigi, that she gets what she wants and often uses her sexuality to do it.
Being cute and sort of sexual in a girly way, giggling at one moment and then hard and severe during cross-examination. I don't know if it's playing very well in this setting. The jury, seeing this, might quickly see through Laurie and decide she's hard to trust. And also the if you believe you can do it, you can, magical thinking turns life instantly into a fairy tale. You can have whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. Just decide what it is you want. Just snap your fingers and you can have it. And I think it's this psychology that took Laurie on the magic carpet ride she's been on. The only problem is, like someone who decides they want an Olympic gold medal and then think if they just believe hard enough they can get it, that's all they need to do, just believe. Well, they quickly realize most of the magic in belief is action. Well, maybe some people don't realize that very quickly or don't even realize that ever, because the magic in belief is action. Belief is just the starting point and to some extent what you need to keep that action going. Believing in yourself while working towards a goal. Laurie is quickly finding out her on-the-job training as a lawyer isn't as simple as self-belief. And the stakes are really high. Obviously, if she's wrong here, if she's miscalculated, and I think it's clear and obvious she has, she doesn't simply not pass the test in the how does she appear as her own lawyer stakes? She risks losing this trial and her life as well. Well, arguably she has already. It may be that Laurie is also setting herself up for an appeal, meaning even if she loses, she can claim either that the judge didn't do enough to protect her from herself, or that she simply deserves a fair trial in the sense of having someone qualified to represent herself. This is a tricky legal area because the judge needs to guide her, but not guide her so much that he fails to protect her from herself. In this News Nation clip, I'll put a link in the description to it, I learned 3 things. In an Arizona court, jurors are allowed to ask questions which are handed to the judge who reads them out, and I agree with Manfield, this is a nice touch. Number 2, jurors are allowed to have their phones with them in the jury box. Fancy that. It's not something you see in courtrooms everywhere. And they're even apparently allowed to refer to them while the trial is running, as one juror apparently did. I think you'll agree with me. I don't think this is such a great idea. And then number 3, I do think it's important to acknowledge that there needs to be decorum, rules and protocols in court. You need to respect the judge. I say this because so often in true crime, even in murder trials, it's a festival for some to roll their eyes, make memes and jokes, and in the same way that Laurie's humanity is what's on trial here, in a sense, so is ours. Are we moral, law-abiding citizens? Do we know how to behave? Are we a mindless mob only here for our own amusement? Or are we animals just doing whatever the hell we want? The last thing I want to say about this is that justice to me is about the law, not eating popcorn and treating it like an entertaining circus. true crime is that some of the time, and I think to the extent that it is, it says a lot more about us than it says about the defendants. When we take pleasure in the suffering or humiliation, even of a criminal, beware of yourself looking so deeply into the darkness that you become consumed by it. Because I'm sure when Laurie decided to take the life she took, there was also an element of deriving benefit, right? We've spoken about the motive being greed. But besides the benefit, also deriving perhaps even pleasure in the demise of those she had a hand in. For example, when Charles Vallow was dead, I'm sure Laurie Vallow's shadow was rubbing its hands in gleeful anticipation of getting her paws on treasure, which is why we see her smiling, laughing, and in such good spirits on the body cam moments after Charles's death. I would like to think we are better than that.
Is it? Are you? On our side.
If you'd like me to do more recaps on the Laurie Vallow trial, let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.